Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidam Scha Om Ajnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Milidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vanshakapatirubhyas Chakripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahamaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad, and this is the Madhya-lila, chapter 1, the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, verse number 129. Kashi Mishre Kripa Pradyumna Mishradi Milan Paramananda Puri Govinda Kashishvara Gaman. After Ramananda Roy's arrival, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon Kashi Mishra and met Pradyumna Mishra and other devotees. At that time, three personalities, Paramananda Puri, Govinda, and Kashishvar, came to see Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri. Damodara Swarup Milane Paramananda Shikimahite Milana Rai Bhavananda. Eventually, there was a meeting with Swarup Damodar Goswami, and the Lord became very greatly pleased. Then there was a meeting with Shikimahiti and with Bhavananda Rai, the father of Ramananda Rai. Goda hoite sarva Vaishnavera agaman Kulina grama bhashe sange pratama milan. All the devotees from Bengal gradually began arriving at Jagannath Puri. At this time, the residents of Kulinagram also came to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the first time. Naraharidas Adi Jatakanda Basi Shivananda Sena Sange Milila Sabayashi. Eventually, Naraharidas and other inhabitants of Kanda, along with Shivananda Sen, all arrived, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them. Snanajatra Deki Prabhu Sange Bhaktagan Sabaloya Koila Prabhu Gundicha Marjan. After seeing the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, the Snanyatra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed Sri Gundicha temple with the assistance of many devotees. Sabha Sange Rata Chatra Koila Darashan Rata Agre Nritya Kori Ujjane Gaman. After this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees saw the Rathayatra, the car festival ceremony. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself danced in front of the car, and after dancing, he entered a garden. Prataparudre Kripa Koila Sestane Goriya Bhakte Agya Dila Vidajara Dine. In that garden, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon King Prataparudra. Afterwards, when the Bengali devotees were about to return home, the Lord gave separate orders to almost every one of them. Pratyabda Shibe Rata Chatra Darshane Echale Chahe Bhakta Ganera Milane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to meet all the devotees of Bengal every year. Therefore, he ordered them to come to see the Rathayatra festival every year. Sarvabhaumagare Prabhu Bhikka Paripati Shatyara matako he jate randi hauk shati. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited to dine at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. While he was eating sumptuously, the son-in-law Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the husband of his daughter Sati, criticized him. So that's a moga, and he criticized Mahaprabhu. Because of this, Sati's mother cursed him by praying that Shati would become a widow. In other words, she cursed her son-in-law to die. Varshantare advaitare bhaktera agaman prabore dekite sabek korila agaman. At the end of the year, all the devotees from Bengal, headed by Advaitacharya, again came to see the Lord. Indeed, there was a great rush of devotees to Jagannath Puri. Anande sabare niya dena basastan Shivananda sen kori sabara palan. When all the devotees from Bengal arrived, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allotted them residential quarters, and Shivananda Sen was put in charge of their maintenance. Shivananda Sangayaila Kurkura Bhagyavan Prabhura Charana Deke Hoila Andardan. A dog accompanied Shivananda Sen and the devotees, and that dog was so fortunate that after seeing the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. Pate Sarvabhauma Saha Sabaram Milan Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Kashite Gaman. Everyone met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya on his way to Varanasi. Prabhure Milila Sarva Vaishnava Asya Jalakrida Koila Prabhu Sabare Loya. After arriving at Jagannath Puri, all the Vaishnavas met with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sported in the water, taking all the devotees with him. Sabloya Koila Gundicha Griha Samarjan Rathayatra Darshane Prabhura Nartan. First the Lord washed the temple of Gundicha very thoroughly. Then everyone saw the Rathayatra festival and the Lord's dancing before the car. Upabane Koila Prabhu Bibida Bilas Prabhura Abhisheka Koila Vipra Krishnadas. In the garden along the road from the Jagannath temple to Gundicha, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed various pastimes. A Brahmin named Krishnadas performed the bathing ceremony of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gundichate nritya ante koila jalakeli hera panchamite dekila Lakshmi Devira Keli. After dancing in the Gundicha temple, the Lord sported in the water with his devotees, and on Hera Panchami day, they all saw the activities of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. Krishna Janma Chatrate Prabhu Gopabesha Hoila Dare Bara Bahi Tabe Lagura Firaila. On Janmashtami, Lord Krishna's birthday, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed himself as a cowherd boy. At that time, he carried a balance with pots of yogurt and wheeled a rod about. Kandera Bhaktagane Tabe Korila Vidai, Sangyara Bhakta Loya, Kore Kirtana Sadai. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to all the devotees from Godadesh, Bengal, and continued chanting with his intimate devotees who constantly remained with him. Vrindavana Jaite Koila Godare Gaman Prataparudra Koila Pate Bibida Seban. To visit Vrindavan, the Lord went to Godadesh, Bengal. On the way, King Prataparudra performed a variety of services to please the Lord. Puri Gosai Sange Bastra Pradanga Prasanga Ramananda Roy Aila Bhadraka Paryanta. On the way to Vrindavan via Bengal, there was an incident wherein some cloth was exchanged with Puri Gosai. Sri Ramananda Roy accompanied the Lord as far as the city of Bhadrak. So this chapter is more or less an outline, because we'll hear in the Madhya-lila and in the Antya-lila that Krishnadas Kaviraj is going to expand everything that's just a paragraph. A verse here will be expanded in the Madhya and Antya-lila with the whole incident described, or the whole pastime described. And right now when we're hearing, somebody might have questions. Well, what does this mean, or what does this refer to? That will be all explained subsequently. But Krishnadas Kaviraj is establishing a summary here of what's going to be described later. So it'll all be expanded upon. Ashi vidya vachaspatir grihete rohila prabhure dekite loka sangata hoila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached Vidyanagar, Bengal, on the way to Vrindavan, he stopped at the house of Vidyavachaspati, who was the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly arrived at his house, great crowds of people gathered. Panchadin deke lok nahika vishram lokabaye ratre prabhu aila kuliyagram. For 5 consecutive days, all the people gathered to see the Lord, and still there was no rest. Out of fear of the crowd, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left at night and went to the town of Kulia, presently Navadip. If one considers the statements of the Chaitanya Bhagavad along with the description by Lochandas Thakur, it is clear that present-day Navadip was formerly known as Kuliyagram. When at Kuliyagram, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his favor upon Devananda Pandit and delivered Gopal Chapel and many others who had previously committed offenses at his lotus feet. So while at Kuliyagram, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his favor upon Devananda Pandit and delivered Gopal Chapel and many others who had previously committed offenses at his lotus feet. At that time, to go from Vidyanagar to Kuliyagram, one had to cross a branch of the Ganges. All of these old places still exist. Chinadanga was formerly situated in Kuliyagram, which is now known as Koleraganj. And that Kuliyagram, which is known as Koleraganj, that's where the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat is. So when it says here, he went from the house of Vidyavachaspati in Vidyanagar, he went from there to Kulia, and that's the Navadip, and that's where, in that place where the mat is known as Aparad Bhanshanpat, where the offenses have been were forgiven by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he forgave Devananda Pandit. That's very near to our mat. So when I first came, Srila Sridhar Maharaj told me, yes, this place is known as Apara Bhanjan Pot. Here all the offenses are forgiven. So that's where, on the parikrama, it's we go from the place of Vidyavachaspati. We visit that. We go to that place in Vidyanagar on the 4th day of our parikramas, and then we go on for the rest of the parikrama. That's the final day, and each day we're returning to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. So what I'm saying is the place of Vidyavachaspati is not, you can walk that distance in maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Well, maybe more, because I'm forgetting we're going. It's longer than that, but it's a walking distance. Mahaprabhu went that way from the house of Vidyavachaspati. That's where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he took birth. Okay. Kuliya gramate prabhur shunya agaman koti koti lokashe koila darashan. Hearing of the Lord's arrival in Kuliyagram, many hundreds of thousands of people came to see him. Kuliyagrame koila devanandere prashad gopala viprere kamaila shrivas aparad. The specific acts performed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this time were showing favor to Devananda Pandit and excusing the Brahman known as Gopala Chapo from the offense he had committed at the lotus feet of Srivas Thakur. Pashande nindakashi parila charane aparara kamitare Dila Krishna Preme. Many atheists and blasphemers came and fell at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord in return excused them and gave them love of Krishna. Vrindavana Jaban Prabhu Shune Nashingananda Pata Sajaila Mane Payananda. When Sri Nishingananda Brahmachari heard that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to Vrindavan, he became very pleased and mentally began decorating the way there. Kuliya Nagara Hoite Pataratne Bandala Nivrinda Pushpa Shaya Upare Patila Kuliyanagar Hoite Pataratne Bandala Nivritta Pushpa Shaya Upare Patila. First, Nisringananda Brahmachari contemplated a broad road starting from the city of Kuliya. He bedecked the road with jewels, upon which he then laid a bed of stemless flowers. So this is all being done in the mind of Nishinga Brahmachari. He's worshipping and preparing the path of Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan. And he's putting on the road jewels and flowers like they form the whole path. Pate dui dike pushpa bakulera shreni madhye madhye dui pashe divya pushkarini. He mentally decorated both sides of the road with bakula flower trees, and at intervals on both sides he placed lakes of a transcendental nature. So he's decorating the road with nice flower trees that bear nice fragrant flowers, and he's putting ponds and bathing places along the different parts of the road, ghats. It's all doing This is all being done in Nrsingananda Brahmachari. He's doing this in his mind. He's worshiping the Lord for the whole path, to the whole path going to Vrindavan. He's doing all these different forms of mental seva. So this is actually showing that with a pure soul like Nrsingananda Brahmachari, he can worship the Lord so nicely within his own mind. And that service is accepted by the Lord. Ratna Banda Gata Tahe Prafula Kama Nanapaki Kolahala Shuddha Samaja. These lakes had bathing places constructed with jewels, and they were filled with blossoming lotus flowers. There were various birds chirping, and the water was exactly like nectar. Shitala Samira Bahe Nana Gandaloya Kanaira Natashala Parjanta Loila Bandiya. The entire road was surcharged with many cool breezes, which carried the fragrances from various flowers. He carried the construction of that road as far as Kanai Natashala. Kanai Natashala is about 200 miles from Calcutta on the loop line of the Eastern Railway. The railway station is named Talajadi, and after one gets off at the station, he has to go about 2 miles to find Kanai Natashala. Age manan nahichale na pare bandite patabanda na jai nishringa hoila bishmite. Within the mind of Nrsingananda Brahmachari, the road could not be constructed beyond Kanai Natashala. He could not understand why the road's construction could not be completed, and thus he was astonished. Nischaya Koriya Kohe Shuna Bhaktagan Ebaranad Shabin Prabhu Sri Vrindavan. With great assurance, he then told the devotees that Lord Chaitanya would not go to Vrindavan at that time. And of course, this is completely correct. The Nrsingananda Brahmachari is decorating the road as for Mahaprabhu's journey to Vrindavan, but he cannot, in his mind, decorate the road beyond Kanai Natashala. So he tells the devotees, all right, this time Mahaprabhu will not go to Vrindavan, because he couldn't decorate the road any further than Kanai Natashala. And after Mahaprabhu meets with Rupa and Sanatan in Ramakeli, then Mahaprabhu becomes disturbed because so many thousands and thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people are following him, and it's attracting much attention, and it's actually disturbing Mahaprabhu. And then Sanatan Goswami tells him, this is not the way to go to Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu thought that Sanatan Goswami had spoken correctly, so Mahaprabhu went as far as Kanai Natashala, which is a little beyond Ramakeli, and then turned back. Didn't want to be followed by so many people. He turned back. So, but Nrsingananda Brahmachari had already known that, because he couldn't, in his mind, he couldn't prepare the road for Mahaprabhu to walk on flowers and with jewels and everything. He couldn't decorate that road beyond Kanai Natashala, which is where Mahaprabhu got to. And then, so Nrsingananda Brahmachari told ahead of time, the Lord won't go to Vrindavan this time. I can assure you of that. Srila Nrsingananda Brahmachari was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, when he heard that from Koliya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan, although he had no material wealth, he began to construct within his mind a very attractive path or road for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to traverse. Some of the description of this path is given above, but even mentally he could not construct the road beyond Kanai Natashala. Therefore, he concluded that Mahaprabhu would not go to Vrindavan at that time. For a pure devotee, it is the same whether he materially constructs a path or constructs one within his mind. This is because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardan, is bhavagrahi, or appreciative of the sentiments. It says bhavagrahi Janardan. That means the Lord appreciates the sentiments of the devotees. For him, a path made with actual jewels and a path made of mental jewels are the same. Though subtle, mind is also matter, so any path, indeed anything for the service of the Lord, whether in gross matter or in some subtle matter, is accepted equally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the Lord will accept the affection of his devotees. And that's actually the Lord is accepting the mental service of Nisringananda Brahmachari. The Lord accepts the attitude of his devotee and sees how much he is prepared to serve him. The devotee is at liberty to serve the Lord either in gross matter or in subtle matter. The important point is that the service the service be in relation with the Supreme Lord, with the Lord. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayata manaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. The real ingredient is bhakti, devotion. Pure devotion is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. A haituki, a pratyata, unconditioned devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. This means that one does not have to be very rich to serve the Supreme Lord, to serve the Lord. Even the poorest man can equally serve the Lord if he has pure devotion. If there is no ulterior motive, devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. Kanaira natashala hoite ashiba firinya janive paschat kohilu nischaya korinya. Nisringananda Brahmachari said, the Lord will go to Kanai Natashala and then will return. All of you will come to know of this later, but I now say this with great assurance. Gosai kuliya hoite chalila brindavan sange sahasreka lok jata bhaktagan. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to proceed from Kuliya towards Vrindavan, thousands of men were with him, and all of them were devotees. Jahan Jaya Prabhu Tahan Koti Sankilok Dekite Ashish Dekite Aishe Deki Kande Dukashok. Wherever the Lord visited, crowds of innumerable people came to see him. When they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. Jahan Jahan Prabhu Charana Paraye Chalite Se mritikalaya lokagarta hoy pate. Wherever the Lord touched the ground with his lotus feet, people immediately came and gathered the dirt. Indeed, they gathered so much that many holes were created in the road. People are taking the dust of Mahaprabhu's feet, and you can see there's so many people. They're taking the dust of his feet that is making holes in the road. That's Ajchachalyayla Prabhu Ramakeli Gram Godara Nikata Grama Atyanupam. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually arrived at a village named Ramakeli. This village is situated on the border of Bengal and is very exquisite. Ramakeli Gram is situated on the banks of the Ganges on the border of Bengal. Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswami had their residence in this village. So that Ramakeli is also the headquarters of the Muslim king, and Rupa and Sanatan are in the employment of the Muslim government. So they're trusted ministers of the Muslim king in Ramakeli. Tahanritya kore Prabhu preme achaitan koti koti log aishe dekite charan. While performing Sankirtan in Ramakeli Gram, the Lord danced and sometimes lost consciousness due to love of God. While at Ramakeli Gram, an unlimited number of people came to see his lotus feet. Godeshwara Javana Raja Prabhava Shunya Kohite Lagila Kichu Bishmita Hoya. When the Muslim king of Bengal heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence in attracting innumerable people, he became very much astonished and began to speak as follows. Vinadane etalog jarapache hoy seta goshaya iha janiya nischoy. Such a person who is followed by so many people without giving them charity must be a prophet. I can surely understand this fact. Kaji javana ihar na korea himsan apana ichaya Buluna Jahan Uharaman. The Muslim king ordered the magistrate, "Do not disturb this Hindu prophet out of jealousy. Let him do his own will wherever he likes." Even a Muslim king could understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental position as a prophet. Therefore, he ordered the local magistrates not to disturb him, but to let him do whatever he liked. Keshava Kshatriyare Raja Varta Puchila Prabhura Mahima Kshatri Udaya Dila. When the Muslim king asked his assistant, Keshav Chatri, for the news of the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Keshav Chatri, although knowing everything about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tried to avoid the conversation by not giving any importance to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. So the reason Keshava Chatri is doing this, he's worried because the Muslim government is not normally didn't want any Hindu leaders to arise, the king understands Mahaprabhu's supreme position in his heart. He can understand that. So he orders nobody to disturb Mahaprabhu. But that doesn't mean that other persons who normally are refraining, the Hindus are not going to be envious of Mahaprabhu. So when the Muslim king asked Keshava Chatri about Mahaprabhu, although Keshav Chatri knew all about Mahaprabhu because he's a devotee of the Lord, he tried to minimize, at least in conversation, to the king, because he was worried that Mahaprabhu would attract the attention of the Muslims and they would try to hurt him. So this is Keshav Chatri became a diplomat when questioned about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he knew everything about him, he was afraid that the Muslim king might become his enemy. He gave no importance to the Lord's activities so that the Muslim king would take him to be an ordinary man and would not give him any trouble. Bikari sannyasi kare, bikari sannyasi kore tirta paryantan Tare deki bari aishe due charijan. Keshav Chatri informed the Muslim king that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant touring different places of pilgrimage, and that as such only a few people came to see him. Well, this is also contradicted by observation, although he's trying to minimize for fear that the Muslim king may try to hurt Mahaprabhu. He says that only few people are coming to see Mahaprabhu, and that not so much notice should be taken. But this is contrary to what is being observed. The Muslim king is aware that so many people are coming to see Mahaprabhu. Keshav Chatri informed the Muslim king that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant touring different places of pilgrimage, and that as such only a few people came to see him. Javane tomaratai kore lagani tara him shaya laba nahe hoy arahani. Keshav Chatri said, "Out of jealousy your Muslim servant plots against him. I think that you should not be very interested in him, for there is no profit in it. Rather, there is simply loss." So, the king may be worshipful of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the other Muslims are not. Keshav Chatri is worried that the other Muslims may plot against Mahaprabhu. So he tells the king, Mahaprabhu is just a mendicant and he doesn't have that many followers. Some people may be coming to see him out of curiosity, but it's not really of so much importance. So it'd be better if people wouldn't, implying it's better to keep people from disturbing the Lord. That's really the purpose of his conversation. He tried to minimize Mahaprabhu to the Muslim king because he's worried that if the Muslims take attention, because they're always trying to restrict Hindu prophets or Hindu mendicants that are attracting people. They don't want that any revival or any attention given to Vaishnav Dharma or the Hindu faith by the populations. The Muslims want to stop that. So Keshav Chatri tries to minimize to the king. Rajare Prabodhi Keshava Brahmana Patnaya Chalibara Tare Prabhure Pataila Kahinya. After pacifying the king in this way, Keshav Chatri sent a Brahmin messenger to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requesting him to leave without delay. Because this is the center of the Muslim government. But Mahaprabhu went there for a purpose, for a reason. He went there to extract Rupa and Sanatan Goswami from the employment of the Muslim government. Mahaprabhu went there to meet with them. That's why he's in Ramakeli. Maybe his being there in the presence of the Muslim government is a very bold move because of the traction he's getting with so many people following him. That would be considered normally a very dangerous move. But Mahaprabhu is there for a reason. He wants to meet with Rupa and Sanatan, and he wants to bring them into his association and mission. They've communicated with him by writing, and Mahaprabhu knows of them, and he wants them to leave. He wants them to leave that government service and to come and join with him, and he'll send them to Vrindavan. So Dabir Kashere Raja Puchila Nibrite Gosaira Mahimateho Lagima Kohite. In private, the king inquired from Dabir Kash, Srila Rupa Goswami, who began to speak about the glories of the Lord. So Keshav Chatri minimized to the king out of fear. He minimized the glorification of Mahaprabhu. But when the king asked to Rupa Goswami instead speaks about the glories of the Lord. Jai Tomare Raja Dila, Jai Tomara Goshaya, Tomara Deshe, Tomara Bhagye Janmila Ashinya. Srila Rupa Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who gave you this kingdom and who you accept as a prophet has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune. So whereas Keshav Chatri minimized the Lord to try and protect the Lord, Rupa Goswami tells the king that Mahaprabhu is not just a prophet. Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord. And you're so fortunate that he has taken birth here and that you could get his darshan. So, Tomara Mangala Banche, Karya Siddhi Hoy, Ihara Ashirbade, Tomara Sarvatra Joy. This prophet always desires your good fortune. By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you will attain victory everywhere. So, you can see that's Rupa Goswami, who's a trusted minister of the king, tells him that he speaks of the glories of Mahaprabhu. Because Rupa Goswami, of course, has that supreme potency that he can say this to the king, and he can make the king understand who Mahaprabhu is. He has that potency. Others may be a little fearful because they cannot, but Rupa Goswami is a minister. He's an advisor to the king. He's not worried because he can advise the king directly about Mahaprabhu's importance, and the king will take his opinion very seriously. Morihena pucha tumi pucha apanaman tumi naradipahao Vishnu amsha sam. Why are you questioning me? Better you question your own heart, your own mind. Because you are the king of the people. You are the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you can understand this better than I. Tomara chite chaitanyare kaiche hoya gyan tomara chite jay loy seta praman. Srila Rupa Goswami informed the king about his mind as a way of knowing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He assured the king that whatever occurred in his mind could be considered evidence. So, I remember Srila Govinda Maharaj talking about Guru Maharaj. When Guru Maharaj would recite verses, Srila Govindamar said that Guru Maharaj had a throwing potency, that he could embed something within your mind just by hearing it from him. So this is what Rupa Goswami, he's not fearful, he's actually making the king, embedding within his mind, making him understand that Mahaprabhu is more than a prophet, Mahaprabhu is the Lord himself. You're so fortunate that you could know him. So the king, Rajako he shunamora mane che loi sakat ishwara ihan nahika samshai. The king replied, I consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt about it. You see, this is what Rupa Goswami can accomplish. The king looks within. Mahaprabhu says, you're the king, look within your own heart. You can understand anything that's in your heart, you can accept as evidence. And then the king thinks and looks to his own heart, and he says this, I consider Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt about it. Itako he rajagela nija abhyantare dhabe dabir kash aila apananagare. After having this conversation with Rupa Goswami, the king entered his private house. Rupa Goswami, then known as Dabir Kash, also returned to his residence. A monarch is certainly a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the proprietor of all planetary systems. In each and every planet, there must be some king, governmental head, or executive. Such a person is supposed to be the representative of Lord Vishnu. On behalf of the Lord, he must see to the interest of all the people. Therefore, Lord Vishnu, as Paramatma, gives the king all intelligence to execute governmental affairs. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore asked the king what was in his heart concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what was in his mind concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and indicated that whatever the king thought about him was correct. Gari Ashidui Bai Jukati Karinya Prabhu Deki Bare Chale Besha Lukaya. So it's two ways of approaching. First, we hear about Keshav Chatri. When the king asked about Mahaprabhu, Keshav Chatri, he's protective of the Lord. He doesn't want to glorify the Lord because he's afraid that the Muslims will then try to stop the Lord or hurt him. But when he asks Rupa Goswami he doesn't hesitate, because he has that power to convince the king of Mahaprabhu being the Lord himself. But they're both of them are actually trying to protect the Lord. Gariyashi Duibai Jukati Garinya Prabhu Deki Bare Chale Beshalukaya. After returning to his residence, Dabir Kas and his brother decided after much consideration to go see the Lord incognito. Ardharatre Duibai Aila Prabhustane Pratame Mulila Nityananda Haridasane. Thus, in the dead of night, the two brothers, Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik, went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incognito. First, they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Taradui Jana Janaila Prabhura Gochare Rupa Sakar Malika Aila Toma Dekibare. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that two personalities, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, had come to see him. Sakar Malik was the name of Sanatan Goswami, and Dabir Kash was the name of Rupa Goswami. They were recognized by these names in the service of the Muslim king. Therefore, these are Muslim names. As officials, the brothers adopted all kinds of Muslim customs. So they had Muslim names. They were in the Muslim government. And we'll see when they won't ever try to enter the Jagannath Puri temple because they'll consider themselves that since they had taken employment from the Muslim government and taken Muslim names, now they're with Mahaprabhu, but they're regarded in the Hindu society and they themselves think themselves unfit to enter into the Jagannath temple. Dui gucha trina duge dashane darinya gale mastrabandi bhare dandavad haya. In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth, and each binding a cloth around his neck, fell down like rods before the Lord. They're coming there with straw between their teeth, and like this because they're presenting themselves in a very humble way. Doinya rodana kori anande bima Prabhu ko he uta hoila mangal. Upon seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. Uti duibai tabe dante trinadori doinya kore stuti kore karai joda kore. The two brothers got up, and again taking straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. So this gesture of taking straw between their teeth, they're showing the Lord, we are fallen souls. We are fallen souls. Please give your mercy to us. They're just presenting themselves in a very humble way. Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Doyamoy Patita Pavana Jai Jaya Mahashai. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful Savior of the fallen souls. All glories to the Supreme Personality. So they're glorifying Mahaprabhu in this way. We are very fallen, and you are the Savior of the fallen, so please give your mercy to us. And that's what a straw between their teeth is also showing. Nitya jati, nitya sangi, kore nitya kaj, tomara agrete prabhu kohite masilaj. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates in employment are also of the lowest type. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Although the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, at that time Dabir Kas and Shakar Malik, presented themselves as having been, as being born in a low family, they nonetheless belonged to a most respectable Brahmin family that was originally from Karnataka. They were Saraswati Brahmins. They were actually born in a Brahmin family, but then they had lost their caste. They had taken employment in the Muslim government. So they're considering themselves fallen. Thus, they actually belong to the Brahmin caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Muslim governmental services, their customs and behavior resembled those of the Muslims. Therefore, they presented themselves as Nitya Jati. The word Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are three kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is acceptance of the reformatory method. And the third birth is acceptance by the spiritual master, initiation. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Rupa and Sanatan. So this is important, and people don't understand that. Sometimes out of economic necessities, people accept all kinds of abominable employment. And this is very unfortunate. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Srila Prabhupada's, mentioning about what is, uses the word abominable. That's a very strong word, people, by their employment, if they take some abominable employment, they become abominable. If they associate with other people who we may consider abominable, then they also will become abominable by that association. So, Srila Prabhupada uses that word abominable to speak strongly about this. Rupa and Sanatan is Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik, associated with Muslims who were naturally opposed to Brahminical culture and cow protection. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. By one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik belong to the Brahmin caste, but because they were employed by Muslims, the original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community. And Prabhupada is speaking very, in this point, he's speaking very kind of, not in a condemning way, but he's speaking in a, in a very nice way. He's saying, both Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik belong to the Brahmin caste. And when we say caste, in the Bhagavad Gita it said, this is the division of the society in which one is according to one's work and one's qualities. It's not that you're just born into that, but it's by one's work and qualities. Both Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik belong to the Brahmin caste, but because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community. Since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, they identified themselves with the lowest caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is clearly stated that because Sakar Malik and Dabir Kash associated with lower class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to the lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmin families. But that's what happens by association. Matuyo nashti papatma naparadi chakaschana parihare pilajame kimbruve purushottama. Dear Lord, let us inform you that no one is more sinful than us, nor is there any offender like us. Even if we wanted to mention our sinful activities, we would immediately become ashamed, and what to speak of giving them up. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. So, I'm going to pause here for today. Tomorrow I'll continue with the reading. Let's see. I'll look and see how much. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Maravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Karadara Shiva Sari Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Karadara Shiva Sari Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raghunath. Hey Jai Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan. Hey Jai Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan. Jaite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Jaite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Hey Jai Gosai Jar Muitaradas. Hey Jai Gosai Jar Muitaradas. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame More Abhilash. Janame More Abhilash. Hey Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Gorila Prakash. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Gorila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadasi Shimad, Srila Bhakti Rakakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Sri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Goswami Das Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Premsigo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad ki jai, Sri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Sri Bhakti Kushamashram Maharaj ki jai, Sripad Sri Bhakti Tilak Niriya Maharaj ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Guna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.